Welcome to Read 516, the Diagnostic and Prescriptive Teaching of Reading. This is Dr. Keisler, and I will be your instructor for this course. So welcome to week 1. We're going to do a course introduction, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the key terms that we'll be using this semester in terms of assessment. So let's do our course introduction first. Let's talk about communication. So many of you, or most of you in this course, have had me before. So you know that email is the best way to get me. I'm usually pretty quick on email. I try to guarantee a 24-hour response rate Monday through Friday. I generally don't work or check my emails on the weekends. So I usually close it about 5 o'clock on Friday, and I open it back up Sunday night or Monday afternoon. You can also call me on my cell phone. That's probably the best way to get me if you need to. A few of you have had to do that in the past, but that's 562-714-1409. If you have general questions that you don't need me specifically for, you can call the office and contact Shannon Wilson. But if you have an emergency, like something happened with, an exam, or you couldn't get back into titanium or something like that, you can always give me a call on my cell phone. You will rarely find me in the office, which is why I give you my personal number, and generally graduate students don't take advantage of that. So office hours. Since this is 100% online class, I do have virtual office hours, and those are generally by appointment. You can email me and say you want to meet in person. You can email me and we can agree on a time to call and set up a phone call. But you can set those up if needed, or we can just communicate over email. If you really want to see me in person, I do have regularly scheduled office hours, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 in the morning to 10:15 in the morning. I teach 3 sections of Read 290, our undergraduate GE class, and so I'm in LH 320A pretty much all day, Tuesday and Thursday. I teach classes from 10:30 to 2:15. with small breaks in the middle, but I do have office hours there at that time. If you do want to come in and see me during those office hours, I do recommend you email me and confirm with me beforehand, because generally undergraduates don't take advantage of office hours, so I don't break my neck to get there at 8:30, because then I'll usually just be sitting there by myself from 8:30 to 10:15. So if you let me know, I might make sure that I will be there. And then, of course, I can always, like I said, we can set up additional office hours by request. So how about an introduction for you? Like I said, I do know most of you from Read 536 or other courses, but those are that's the one I've been teaching most recently. But I did see a few names on there from people I've had in 508. So make sure on your profile that you have filled out, obviously your name is there, but go ahead and update it if you haven't looked at it. I know people get different jobs and they do different things. So is your most current position on there? Maybe why you want to take your courses this semester. I think you're taking 511 as well. So for a lot of you, this is a continuation with me and Dr. Biggs again this semester. Your interest, anything special about you that you would like us to know. If you're comfortable putting your phone number on there, that is sometimes helpful. There is, occasion sometimes where we need to call. I did have a student at the end of the semester, last semester, that I couldn't find their final paper, and I didn't want to have to give them an incomplete, so I was able to call them and get that updated in time. And if I don't have it myself, then I have to go call Shannon Wilson and kind of go through a middleman. So if you're comfortable putting your phone number up, go ahead and stick it up there. And of course, a photo. So most of you do have a photo with your profile, but if you don't have it, it's nice to see it. So if you don't have it, can you go ahead and upload a photo of yourself? So let's talk a little bit then about 516. So if you've taken 536, this class is a good complement to it, which is why we do it after it. A few of you took, I think, you're out of order a little bit, so you may not have taken 536 yet, or you may not have taken it with me, but that's okay. I just think that 536 and 516 go together nicely. So we did a little bit of that, building the background in 536 on assessment and curriculum, and now you're really, and you developed a unit in terms of intervention or changing a program. And now you're going to get a little bit more technical, thinking about how do you look for specific and diagnose specific reading difficulties and then plan for that instruction with those students. Right? So your official kind of course description is that Read 516 is a case-based study of various assessment devices and trial teaching practices essential for precise intervention in reading and language arts. And you can find that on your syllabus. So the important part, which I highlighted there, is the idea that it's case-based. So this is your first course that you have a big fieldwork component. I know in 514 and in 508 you do a little bit of fieldwork, but this case is really based on fieldwork. So you are doing a case study of 2 students, and of course that's a nice complement with 511 because you will be doing your action research piece with in 511 and learning your research method. So they go together nice as well, these two classes. So really everything that we do is kind of me front loading you with some content learning and then you going out and actually trying it. The biggest kind of misconception or things that students struggle with in 516 is keeping in mind that 516 is about learning how to use the assessment devices, learning how to use the assessments. Of course, as teachers, we give an assessment, we see what the student needs, and we want to go out and do the intervention. But unfortunately, that is not the purpose of this class. You'll get to do that when you take your capstone, when you do the clinic in a couple of semesters. But right now, it's really important that we just learn to use the assessments. So you may feel like you're assessing the depth out of these poor students, but that is what you're supposed to be learning here. So you're not doing the actual interventions, you're giving the assessments that you, in theory, would base your interventions on, and you can talk about what you would do, but you're not going to get that opportunity to actually go ahead and do the interventions with that student. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes students feel a little frustrated that they are not getting to do the intervention piece, but that is not our focus here. So you will write a plan up that can go with that student at the end of your case study period with each student. And the great thing about that is then the parent or the teacher, or it might be your own student so that you are the teacher, gets to take that with them. And so you've done really in-depth assessments that often a classroom teacher may not have the time to do, especially if that student is not assigned to a reading specialist or such. So like I said, what we do here is we provide you with a model that can help you really get that in-depth look at a reader. And we pay attention to the influence of linguistic, social, cultural, physical, psychological, intellectual, and educational factors on learning to read and reading to learn, right? So we do 2 different students, one who's learning to read and then one who's in that learning to read, that older phase. So the reason that we want to offer you this class and we want you to do this class kind of earlier or actually in the middle of the program, I guess, is that we want you to have that authentic experience, making the decisions about which tools to use, actually going out and using them, and then interpreting the information that you get. We want you to have some experience in applying the principles of a diagnostic and prescriptive teaching model, which is what we are sharing with you here. We will talk more about. But this isn't per se, let's say, a personally supervised learning experience like you may have had in some of your other fieldwork experiences in your credential program, right? So this class is 100% online. So we don't meet at all, and I don't actually supervise you in person, but I do get to see you via video. So if you've taken a look at the syllabus yet and your heart is now leaping out of your throat because you're going to have to record yourself, don't worry, it'll be okay. So what we're looking for you to get out of this class, obviously, is to figure out what those assessments literacy assessments are that are available to you. We want to show you some of the ones that we have carefully selected that we believe are good devices to use to assess the particular areas of literacy. So we're looking at early reading, oral language development, word analysis, fluency, vocabulary, all those good things that we've been talking about in the program so far. We want you to know about the type of assessments and the uses of those assessments kind of across all of the components of literacy that you want to look at, as well as knowing the difference between formal and informal assessments. What is a curriculum embedded assessment? What is a norm reference and a criterion based assessment? So we'll do some of the basics of assessment in general, like you might get in a curriculum and instruction masters. But what's nice is in this class, of course, everything is geared towards those types of assessments in reading, right? So, what's an informal type of assessment you can give in reading? Curriculum embedded assessment in reading. Norm reference type in reading. So we'll have those discussions as we move on through the semester. And then, of course, we want you to have that ability to analyze and interpret the results. So that means, you doing the reflective piece, and then me, for my part, giving you feedback on the recommendations that you make. So it's a pretty interactive course, maybe more so than most of the other courses you take, because it requires kind of both you to really stick to that syllabus in terms of turning the things in, and then for me to really stick to that syllabus in terms of giving you the feedback piece. And then, by the end of the course, we do a project based on a response intervention model, and through that, we hope that you gain that ability to use the assessment results to help you make those instructional recommendations, both for individual students and then to be able to place students in groups, because in reality, that's how most reading specialists do their work. They don't get to work one-on-one as often, but rather they group students in terms of their reading and learning needs, and then they work with them or create recommendations for their intervention plan. So that's where we'll end up by the end of the semester. So of course, your professional dispositions, it's always important for you to take a look at that. That's what we are expecting of you to, the attitudes and dispositions that we're expecting to instill in you or grow in you through your participation in this program. And we expect that you, by the end of our program, can demonstrate all of these dispositions. So if you haven't seen them, and you should be familiar with them from orientation and from your courses that you've taken so far. But they include the collaboration and promotion, respectful and positive relationships with families, that you maintain professional and ethical standards, you demonstrate emotional maturity, academic integrity, and professional commitment, and that you value lifelong learning and pursue ongoing learning, which most of you do, which is the reason you are here, right? So I'm actually going to stop the screencast right now. I'm seeing that I think my Screencast-O-Matic Pro account has expired because it's giving me a 15-minute time limit on the bottom here. So I'm going to have to update that. But in the meantime, I will cut it off here. And then this week, I guess we'll just have 2 or 3 screencasts for you to go ahead and click on. So I will talk about course text in the next screencast.